Okay, close your eyes for just a second. Picture a millionaire. Really try and visualize it. What pops into your head? Is it, someone stepping off a private jet, maybe keys to a huge oceanfront mansion jingling? Or like a diamond watch glittering on their wrist? We're talking flashy cars, exclusive clubs, designer, everything. The kind of life you see all over social media, right? That's the image. But what if I told you that picture, for most genuinely wealthy people, is almost completely wrong? Today, we're doing a deep dive into a book that really challenged that stereotype. Actually, it didn't just challenge it, it totally flipped the script on what being truly wealthy means. It's The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. And look, this isn't some dry finance text. It's groundbreaking research, really. It revealed some genuinely surprising truths about how wealth is actually built. It's been foundational for so many people trying to get a handle on money.
Exactly, and that's precisely why it's still so relevant, decades later. The shocking truth Stanley and Danko found was that most millionaires just don't fit that glamorous image you painted. They're not the ones on reality TV or magazine covers, not at all. In fact, they are, quite literally living right next door, quietly, deliberately building wealth, often completely unnoticed, flying totally under the radar.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the key insights from this fantastic book. We want to pull back the curtain on these millionaires next door, understand what they actually look like, what habits they share, and crucially, why their very effective approach to wealth is often hidden in plain sight. It's going to challenge a lot of assumptions, I think, about money, about success, and hopefully give you some really concrete ideas for your own financial path. It's a real eye-opener. Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's bust some myths. The first, and maybe the biggest takeaway from The Millionaire Next Door, is pretty powerful. Millionaires don't show off. I mean, that flies in the face of almost everything pop culture tells us, doesn't it? We think wealth equals display.
It really does. And what's fascinating here is just how pervasive that misunderstanding is. The book meticulously documents that true millionaires, they aren't celebrities, they're not influencers flashing designer bags or exotic trips. Instead, Stanley and Danko found them living surprisingly modest lives, almost understated. They actively avoid unnecessary luxury. And it's not because they can't afford it, it's a deliberate choice. Think about that. People with the most money are often the ones you least suspect because they're not trying to impress anyone.
That's such a key distinction. It's not just being frugal, it sounds like a different value system altogether. Can you elaborate a bit? What choices do they make that stop them from showing off? Because for most of us, income goes up, lifestyle goes up.
Absolutely. The book gives great examples. These millionaires often live in, modest, established neighborhoods, not flashy new developments. They drive reliable cars, often used, often domestic makes, sometimes for 10, 15 years, not leasing a new luxury car every couple of years.
Right.
Their clothes are functional, not high fashion. The point is, they prioritize things like experiences or, more importantly, long-term investments over stuff that just screams, look at me.
Yeah.
It's not just avoiding luxury, it's a strategic choice, funneling money into assets that grow, not liabilities that shrink. It's pretty radical in our consumer society.
Okay, so if it's not about getting external validation,
Right.
what is driving them? What's the deeper motivation behind these choices?
Well, that connects directly to another core principle from the book.
Yeah.
For them, financial freedom is way more valuable than a fancy lifestyle. Much more. Their primary goal is independence, security. They're not chasing status symbols or fleeting trends. They want the peace of mind that comes from controlling their own destiny. Being free from debt, free from the pressure to keep up appearances, free to make choices based on their values, not what others expect. It's a total reorientation, from consumption to accumulation.
That difference between financial freedom and just a fancy lifestyle is huge. It really does flip the script.
Okay, so let's unpack this more. If they're not showing off, and they're prioritizing independence, what are the actual practical habits? This is where the rubber meets the road, right? The daily stuff.
Right. And the book really details these wealth-building habits. They might sound simple, maybe even obvious, but it's the consistent application that's the magic. These millionaires next door, they do three things incredibly consistently. They save diligently, they invest wisely for the long term, and they control their spending, with real precision.
It sounds almost too simple, like advice your grandma would give. But I guess the consistency is the tough part. That's exactly it. They don't just save what's left over. Saving is non-negotiable, often automated. Before they even touch the paycheck, they're investing. It's disciplined, long-term focused, steady growth not chasing hot stocks or trying to time the market. And controlling spending this is critical. It's not about deprivation. It's about conscious choices aligned with their goals. For instance, the book found many millionaires budget meticulously. They track their dollars, even when they have millions. It's not being cheap, it's being in control. Total control of their resources.
You mentioned earlier that urge to upgrade everything. That brings us to something insidious, right? What the book calls lifestyle inflation. Can you explain that?
Yeah, lifestyle inflation is basically when your spending rises automatically as your income does. You get a raise, bigger house, get a bonus, fancier car lease. You earn more, so you eat out more, buy pricier clothes, take bigger vacations. The problem is you never actually get ahead. Your expenses just keep pace, or sometimes even outpace, your income, your net wealth. It doesn't really grow. You're just stuck on that treadmill.
And the millionaires in the book, they fight this urge. They actively resist.
Oh, absolutely. Stanley and Danko were clear on this. The millionaires next door actively avoid lifestyle inflation. They don't just spend more because they earn more. Their spending stays relatively flat or maybe inches up slightly, even as their income and investments grow substantially. This creates this ever-widening gap, right, between earnings and spending. That gap allows for huge wealth accumulation. Think of it like a dam. More water flowing in, less flowing out. The reservoir fills up fast. It's totally counterintuitive in our society, but wow, is it effective?
And that must be where self-discipline really kicks in. The book talks about how they manage to resist that constant pull, right, to keep those habits going.
Yeah.
What's the secret sauce there? Because, some might argue a little upgrade is fine as you earn more.
Yeah.
What's the book's take on that balance?
Well, this brings up that key question. How do they maintain it? Especially with rising income and temptation everywhere. The book points straight at it. Self-discipline is the secret. It's not luck. It's not one big break. It's the grind, the daily choices, the unwavering long-term focus. And the book doesn't really suggest total deprivation. It suggests deliberate choice. A millionaire might enjoy something luxurious, sure, but it's planned, it's budgeted, it doesn't derail the long-term plan. It's not just an automatic upgrade because the money's there. This discipline, it's built on a few things: incredible patience, really meticulous long-term planning, and a deep understanding that building wealth isn't just about the earning part. Anyone can make money. It's about protecting it once you have it, and then growing it consistently, year after year, decade after decade. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. It frames wealth building as a marathon, absolutely not a sprint. It's this continuous process of strategic moves, understanding compound interest, minimizing taxes, living below your means, not a lottery win. They are playing the long game.
That marathon metaphor is powerful. It makes it seem achievable, but also, demanding. Which brings us to another really fascinating piece. How do these millionaires handle wealth within their families? Do they just spoil the kids, set them up for life, shield them from struggle? You might think so.
Yeah.
But according to the millionaire next door, the reality is quite different.
Oh, absolutely. The book offers a really countercultural view on family wealth. Instead of just handing over money or spoiling kids, these millionaires focus on instilling values. They teach their kids about hard work, financial discipline, self-reliance, perseverance. It's not about being handed things. It's about understanding the effort and the choices behind creating and keeping wealth.
So it's more than just saying be responsible. Does the book give actual examples of how they teach this? Because that's the hard part for a lot of parents.
It does, yeah. The research gives specific examples. Like many millionaires in the study gave allowances, but tied them directly to chores. Teaches that effort-reward connection. They often expected their kids to pay for a good chunk of their own college tuition through savings, part-time jobs. Gives them ownership.
Interesting.
Some even required their kids to work summer jobs or even start little businesses, just to instill that deep understanding that money is earned, It's a tool, not an entitlement. They're very intentionally trying to foster an entrepreneurial spirit and a real appreciation for the value of a dollar.
That's a world away from what some might expect from wealthy families. It sounds like they're actively trying to avoid what the book calls economic outpatient care, becoming a dependency.
Precisely. The book is pretty blunt about the downsides of economic outpatient care. That's,
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core message from The Millionaire Next Door really shines through, doesn't it? That myth that millionaires are just lucky or they all live these flashy, opulent lives. It's well and truly broken. It's a powerful realization. It completely reframes how we might perceive success. What this book really reinforces for all of us, for you listening right now, is that with that unwavering discipline, with a commitment to frugality that puts assets ahead of status, and with smart, consistent investing over the long haul, anyone can build substantial wealth, long-term wealth, It's less about where you start or inherited privilege or how famous you are, and much more about your mindset and the consistent actions you take day in, day out, year after year. It genuinely puts financial freedom within reach for anyone willing to do the quiet work, the often unglamorous work, but wow, the effective work.
Yeah, and this leaves us with a really provocative thought for you, the listener, to ponder on. Given that true lasting wealth is so often built quietly, behind the scenes, focused on independence and security, not flashy displays, what does that suggest about our society's wider obsession? With consumerism, instant gratification, the pressure to look wealthy, what hidden opportunities for real financial freedom, for personal fulfillment, might we be missing simply because they aren't loud or flashy or Instagrammable? It really challenges us, I think, to look past the surface and maybe fundamentally redefine what real success, true prosperity actually means for ourselves.